5:47 a.m. Flushing, Queens. October 14th. The street is still dark when the first armored vehicle rolls onto Roosevelt Avenue. Steam rises from a manhole cover. A delivery truck idles 2 blocks down, and in front of a pink awning storefront reading Lucky Orchid Nails and Spa, 23 federal agents move in formation, weapons drawn, breath visible in the October chill. The lead agent raises a gloved fist, 3 fingers. 2, 1. The breaching ram strikes the reinforced door at 5:47 and 12 seconds. Wood splinters. Glass shatters. Inside, fluorescent lights flicker on as agents flood the salon floor, past rows of pedicure chairs still wrapped in plastic, past shelves stocked with 300 bottles of Polish arranged by color. They are not here for the salon. They are here for what is underneath it, because Lucky Orchid Nails is not a nail salon. Not really. It is the public face of one of the largest human trafficking operations the Eastern District of New York has uncovered in a decade. And by 6:15 a.m., agents will descend a hidden staircase behind a false utility closet and find 60 women living in a subterranean dormitory beneath the polished fumes and the soft. Music and the smiling Yelp reviews. This is the story of how it was discovered, how it was allowed to grow, and how a woman the local Chamber of Commerce once named Small Business Owner of the Year built an empire of suffering across 4 boroughs, 12 storefronts, and $17 million in laundered cash. You need to hear this one all the way through. The woman at the center of it all is 46-year-old Mei Lin Zhao. To the public, she is a success story, a first-generation immigrant who arrived in New York in 2003 with, according to her own frequently repeated origin myth, 2 suitcases and $43. She opened her first salon in 2009. By 2015, she had 4. By 2022, 12. She gave interviews to local news stations. She donated to a city council campaign. She sponsored a Little League team in Bayside. She also, according to a 137-page federal indictment unsealed on October 14th, ran a coordinated trafficking pipeline that brought women from rural Fujian province and Vietnam into the United States on fraudulent tourist visas, confiscated their passports upon arrival, and forced them to work 18-hour shifts 6 and 7 days a week to pay off. Transportation debts that federal prosecutors say were designed to be mathematically impossible to satisfy. The average debt per victim, according to ledger evidence, $58,000. The average wage paid to victims, $2.40 per hour. The average length of captivity before the raid, 4 years and 3 months. But none of this was known on the morning of October 14th. None of it was known until agents reached the basement. The investigation began, as so many do, with something small. In March of last year, a customer at a Lucky Orchid location in Forest Hills noticed something during her appointment. The young woman doing her pedicure had a bruise on her wrist that looked, the customer would later tell investigators, like a handcuff mark. When the customer asked the woman where she was from, the woman did not answer. When she asked again, a different employee, older, sharper-eyed, appeared and steered the conversation elsewhere. The customer left. She thought about it for 3 days. Then she called the National Human Trafficking Hotline. The tip was logged. It was forwarded. It landed on the desk of Special Agent Diana Reyes of the FBI's Civil Rights Division in New York. Reyes had seen tips like this before. Most of them led nowhere. But she pulled the business records anyway, and what she found was the first thread. Lucky Orchid Nails, on paper, was 12 separate LLCs, each registered to a different address, each filing taxes independently. But all 12, when their bank records were subpoenaed, deposited their daily cash receipts into a single consolidated account at a Flushing community bank, an account in the name of a holding company called Orchid Capital Holdings, LLC. The sole signatory on that account was Mei Lin Zhao. The reported revenue for the 12 salons in the previous fiscal year, $4.2 million. The deposits into Orchid Capital Holdings during that same period, $17.3 million. The discrepancy was not subtle. It was a chasm. Reyes opened a formal investigation in May. She brought in Ayers' Criminal Investigation, Homeland Security Investigations, and the Department of Labor. She put together a task force. For 5 months, they watched. They watched delivery vans arriving at salon back entrances at 11 p.m. They watched the same vans leaving at 5 a.m. before the salons opened. They watched women enter the salons through rear doors and never, in months of surveillance, exit through the front. They watched Zhao herself drive between locations in a 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLELS registered to a shell corporation in Delaware. And then, in September, they got their warrant. By 6:15 a.m. on October 14th, agents had cleared the ground floor of the Flushing location. 2 employees, both in legal status, both on Zhao's payroll as supervisors, were in custody. The basement door was hidden behind a wall-mounted shelving unit holding cleaning supplies. It had been built to look exactly like the surrounding wall, with matching paint and trim. It was found because a junior agent noticed that the floor tiles in front of the shelf showed wear patterns inconsistent with a stationary fixture. The shelf swung open on a center hinge. Behind it, a steel door. Behind the steel door, a staircase. What the agents found at the bottom of that staircase has been described in court filings, in press conferences, and in the sworn testimony of the agents themselves. It bears repeating in the precise language of the federal complaint. A windowless dormitory measuring approximately 8,800 square feet. 42 metal bunk beds arranged in 8 rows. A single bathroom containing 2 toilets and 1 shower. A communal kitchen with 1 industrial rice cooker, 2 hot plates, and a refrigerator containing expired food. No emergency exits. No fire suppression system. No ventilation beyond a single ceiling fan. And 60 women. They ranged in age from 19 to 54. 41 were from China. 15 from Vietnam. 4 from Cambodia. None had identification. None had cell phones. None, according to the initial intake interviews conducted by FBI victim specialists in the hours that followed, had been outside the building system, meaning the salons, or the dormitories beneath them, in more than 6 months. One woman, who has since been identified in court documents only as victim 23, had not been outside in 2 years and 7 months. She did not know who the president was. She thought it was still 2022. Now ask yourself, how does this happen in New York City? How does an operation of this scale, spanning 12 storefronts and 4 boroughs, evade detection for over a decade? The federal indictment provides an answer. And it is worse than the original crime. Because Meilin Zhao did not operate alone. She operated with help. The October 14th raids were not limited to the salons. At 5:47 a.m., simultaneous warrants were executed at 6 additional locations. Among the residences searched, the Bayside home of a state-licensed nail industry inspector named Robert Chen, who, according to the indictment, had received a total of $340,000 in cash payments from Orchid Capital Holdings between 2018 and 2025 in exchange for falsifying inspection reports. The Forest Hills apartment of an immigration paralegal named Linda Vu, who allegedly prepared the fraudulent visa documentation that brought victims into the country, charging Zhao $4,500 per victim, and the Long Island home of an accountant named David Park, who structured the cash deposits below federal reporting thresholds and prepared the falsified tax returns for all. 12 LLCs. All 3 were arrested on October 14th. All 3 have been charged with conspiracy, money laundering, and aiding and abetting human trafficking. All 3 have pleaded not guilty. 2 additional individuals named in the indictment, both employees at the community bank that processed the Orchid Capital Holdings deposits, remain under investigation. The conspiracy, in other words, was not a secret. It was a system. It required participants. It had them. The press conference was held at 2 p.m. on the day of the raids, at the Eastern District U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn. The U.S. Attorney spoke first. Today's enforcement action, she said, represents the culmination of a 17-month investigation into one of the most extensive human trafficking and labor exploitation networks ever uncovered in the Northeast. The defendants in this case did not merely break the law. They constructed an entire commercial infrastructure designed to convert human suffering into private profit, and they did so behind the friendly storefronts of businesses that ordinary New Yorkers walked into every day. She paused. 60 women have been recovered. They are alive. They are receiving medical care, trauma counseling, and immigration relief through the T-Visa program. They will not be deported. They will be supported. And the people who exploited them will face the full consequences of federal law. The special agent in charge spoke next. He read the charges: 22 counts, trafficking in persons, forced labor, document servitude, money laundering, tax evasion, visa fraud, conspiracy against rights, bribery of a public official. The maximum cumulative sentence, if convicted on all counts, life imprisonment. Maylin Zhao, who was arrested at her Bayside home at 5:47 a.m., appeared at her arraignment that afternoon in a gray sweatsuit with her hands cuffed behind her. The magistrate judge denied bail, citing flight risk and the discovery of $1.2 million in cash, 3 forged passports, and a one-way ticket to Taipei dated October 19th in a safe in her bedroom closet. She had been 5 days from leaving. The financial picture, as it emerged in the weeks after the raids, was staggering even to investigators who had spent careers tracking organized financial crime. Between 2014 and 2025, Orchid Capital Holdings laundered an estimated $42 million through a network of real estate purchases, luxury vehicle acquisitions, and overseas wire transfers to accounts in Hong Kong, Macau, and Vancouver. Zhao personally owned, through nested shell companies, 4 investment properties in Queens, 2 in Brooklyn, a condominium in Manhattan's Lower East Side, and a single-family home in Cupertino, California. The total assets seized on October 14th and in the days following, approximately $31 million. The Department of Justice has indicated that asset forfeiture proceedings will direct the recovered funds toward victim restitution and trafficking survivor support programs. It will not be enough. It is never enough. The women rescued from beneath the salons are, as of this reporting, housed in secure transitional facilities in 3 states. They are receiving medical care that, in many cases, addresses years of neglected conditions, chemical burns from acetone exposure, respiratory damage from unventilated polish, fumes, untreated dental disease, malnutrition. Several are pregnant. 2 have infants who were born in the basement dormitories and have never seen sunlight for more than a few minutes at a time. Victim impact statements, filed under seal but excerpted in pretrial motions, describe what life inside the system looked like. One woman wrote, "I was told if I tried to leave, my family in China would be killed. I was told this every week." Another, "I worked from 7 in the morning to 1 in the morning. I was given 30 minutes to eat. I painted nails until my hands bled. When my hands bled, I was told to wear gloves and keep working." Another, "I forgot the sound of my own language because we were not allowed to speak it during work hours. We were told to speak only English to customers. When customers asked where we were from, we were told to say Korea because Korea sounded clean." 60 women, 60 stories, 60 futures interrupted in some cases for years. There is one more layer to this story, and it is the layer that should keep you awake. Lucky Orchid Nails is not unique. The federal indictment, in a footnote on page 94, references an ongoing parallel investigation into at least 7 other multi-location nail salon chains in the New York metropolitan area suspected of similar practices. The Department of Justice has stated publicly that the Eastern District raids represent, in their words, the first action of a broader, sustained enforcement initiative. Translation: there are more basements. How many is not yet known. How many women remain in them is not yet known. How many corrupt inspectors, paralegals, accountants, and bankers have helped build them is not yet known. What is known is that the average American adult visits a nail salon between 3 and 7 times per year, that the industry generates approximately $11 billion in annual revenue, and that the business model, high cash volume, low-wage immigrant labor, minimal regulatory oversight, language barriers between customers and workers, is, by its structure, vulnerable to exactly the kind of exploitation that Mei-Lin Zhao perfected. This does not mean every nail salon is criminal. The vast majority are legitimate businesses run by people working hard and lawfully. But it does mean that the conditions that allowed Lucky Orchid Nails to operate undetected for over a decade are conditions that exist throughout the industry, and they will continue to exist until regulators, lawmakers, and consumers demand otherwise. So, what do you do with this? You pay attention. The customer who called the hotline in March of last year is the reason 60 women are no longer in that basement. She did not investigate. She did not confront. She made a phone call. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-7888. It is free. It is confidential. It operates 24 hours a day in over 200 languages. If something feels wrong, a worker who will not make eye contact, a worker who flinches when a manager approaches, bruises that do not match a story, a back room that no one will let you near, you do not need to be sure. You only need to call. Mei-Lin Zhao's trial is scheduled to begin in March of next year. She faces, if convicted on all counts, the rest of her natural life in federal custody. Her co-conspirators face sentences ranging from 12 to 40 years. The 60 women are beginning, slowly, to rebuild. Some are reuniting with family members they have not seen in nearly a decade. Some are learning, for the first time, that they have legal rights. Some are learning English. Some are learning to sleep through the night. They are alive. They are free. And somewhere, in a basement that has not yet been found, others are still waiting. The investigation continues.